And we are back. It is time to discuss week 8. As always, we do this every single week. We go over what we predicted was going to happen with what actually happened. Al, how you doing? Week 8, another crazy week.
Yeah, man, no shortage of things to talk about. Um, this is why I love football, man. It's just a fun sport. You can never quite pin it down. Things are starting to get a little more clear, but just when you think you know stuff, you don't. So I love it.
Yeah, there's some bonkers games too this
No
week.
doubt, no doubt.
All right, well, let's start it right off. Um, on Thursday, Minnesota against the Rams, we were not aware that both Puka and Cup were going to be playing. Would that have changed your initial prediction? Because we both picked Minnesota, so we both got it wrong. The Rams win 30-20.
Well, I'm not quite sure, honestly. I want to say it would have just because it would make me right, but I'm honestly not sure. Um, I will say I got my upset right because I picked the upset on the strength of Cup alone coming back. So there is a chance I might have done it, but I'm honestly not sure without being in that circumstance.
Right. If you're listening for the first time, we pick all the games and then we pick one upset that goes against our official pick, but that we think might actually happen when we're having trouble with a game or something. We might pick that other team as the upset. We do that every week as well. Um, Incidentally, my upset was later on in the week. We'll get to it when it comes.
Right on.
Um, but yeah, any concern about Minnesota?
Yes. I
Me
still think they're a
too.
very good team. I do. This was a good game. This wasn't like they got destroyed or anything. Um, But I will say, as good as Sam Darnold's been this year, he is not. I could be wrong. Obviously, I was wrong about Darnold coming into this season, but he doesn't look like a guy who's going to grab a team by the balls and win a game for you. Like, so they're going to have to be A plus, just team effort every week to win. In my mind, I don't know if you agree with that or not. I'm curious to
I,
see
I
what
I
people think.
I do agree with that.
Okay,
I think now there's some more tape on him now. People are understanding what he's doing this year differently. But don't forget, they're playing tougher game. Like they lost 2 in a row, but they play the Rams on the road and getting that jolt of Puka and Cup back.
yeah.
Tough game. They didn't get destroyed, and then they lost 2 in a row. But last week they played Detroit.
Which is no shame at all. And we chronicled how close that game was statistically. So that was no shame at all.
Right. So yeah, I still think they're pretty good. I I shy away from them being elite though. They're not
Yeah.
elite,
That's you know what? We are on the 100% I think same page there just based on what you just said. That makes a lot of sense to me. Um
but they'll be playing in January, I think.
I agree. I agree. This is barring something I don't foresee. This is a playoff team and a good solid team, and we'll see. Maybe Darnold can be a guy that can win them a game here or there when they need it. It just didn't happen this week.
Right. Okay. Well, right, right to another game we got wrong, and this is when you just throw your hands up and
Oh,
you
I
just
think
want to give up doing picks because this is just stupid. Cleveland beats Baltimore 29-24. What in the hell?
well, this one has an easy explanation, man, and that is the power of Jameis Winston. That's it, right there, done. I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
this
they got good Jameis.
they got good Jameis. Jameis didn't throw in it. Jameis's stats were 27 for 41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers.
Right, which means next week he'll have no touchdowns and 4 turnovers.
Oh, I guarantee you, I'm going to be starting at least 3 or 4 defenses against the Browns this week based on
Yeah,
that.
but I mean, geez, I mean,
Incredible, right?
I had Baltimore 33-0.
Oh, that's the one. That's right. And I don't blame you for that. And I had the Browns, the Ravens large, 31,
Yeah,
not quite as much as you, but 31-17. I wasn't giving them a ton of credit. That 17 number was only because Jameis was playing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, or at least
geez,
we didn't even know last week, by the way. We were guessing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We weren't sure who was starting, but still, would have never picked this, regardless of who was starting.
No, no. And I think this just comes down to two things. One, the Cleveland defense is still pretty good, and or actually three things. Defense is still pretty good. Jameis Winston gave him a massive injection of offense, and division games can just go weird. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
see it all the time in the NFC East. You know what I mean? The Cowboys or the Eagles, when they're good, will lose to the Commanders or the Giants when they stunk for the last 5 years. Once or twice a year at least, right? So
Yep.
it's these things happen. I don't know how to explain it other than that. But the weird thing to me is that the team that I really thought was the best team in the NFL going into this week, the Ravens, are now 5-3.
Yeah, they're good, but I don't know. They can be had. Obviously, this has happened a few times now.
No doubt, no doubt. Whatever that, I don't know what the flaw is that allows this to happen, but they have a flaw. So at times they look almost unbeatable, but they are very beatable. So it's an interesting combination of things.
Totally agree. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, let's. Oh, and
Everybody's
last thing about that, real quick, is if Cedric Tillman is available in your fantasy league, go get him.
Cedric Tillman. Oh, I've been. You know what? I've been given the stats of the games the last couple weeks, and I kind of forgot about it this week.
Oh, I have him if you want. I can run
Yeah,
it through.
give
Yeah.
us some stats on Minnesota, the Minnesota Rams game, and the game we just did, the Cleveland game.
Okay, let me do Cleveland first because I'm open to that page, and then I'll get the other one. So we did Jameis's stats, which is unfreaking believable. I mean, that's one of the best games a quarterback has had in the NFL this year, and he hasn't played since 2022. So good for him.
Quarterbacks
Cedric
are down,
Tillman,
by the way. Quarterbacks are down this year.
no doubt. Defense is up, quarterbacks are down. Absolutely.
Yep.
Um, Cedric Tillman, who was, I believe, a second round draft pick last year, 7 catches, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy.
And Joku is now viable again, 5 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Lamar played his ass off for Baltimore, 23 for 38, 289, 2 touchdowns, no picks, ran for 46 yards. Derrick Henry. They didn't, the one thing about this, and when I look at these stats, is what the hell were they waiting for to give Derrick Henry the ball? 11 rushes for 73 yards and a touchdown, and that was it. I mean, it's a hell of
Yeah,
an effort for Henry with what they gave him, but they didn't give him the ball much. It's weird to me, but game script maybe. Um, Zay Flowers had a hell of a game, 7 for 115. Mark Andrews continues his return to the end zone, 5 catches, 36 yards, and a touchdown. That's 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks after looking like he might be done. So, and then what was the other game we needed?
I got it. I got the
Oh,
Rams and
good,
Vikings. I got it up.
great.
Um, yeah, Sam Darnold was fine. 240 and 2 touches, no picks. You know what the thing is about what's going on with Sam? I think too. He's not turning the ball over. He's not making stupid mistakes.
That's huge. That's huge. That's how you can win by not being one like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. That's
Yep.
how you win. It's we've seen it before, like the year Trent Dilfer led the Ravens. He stopped turning the ball over and they win. So
Yep.
this is a proven formula if he can keep playing that way.
And he also went to Justin Jefferson for 8 catches, 115 yards. So that's smart. If you're going to do that,
Yeah,
that's the guy you want with the ball.
yeah. It tells you your quarterback's not stupid that he's getting the best receiver in the game the ball.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones, nothing. Rams defense stepped up against him. He had 19 carries, but only 58 yards.
Yeah, he didn't have his best game for sure. They did a good job of stuffing him. That Ram defense, by the way, stepped up big time because they were ranked 29th in the league in rushing going into that game, and they stopped the guy who was averaging over 5 yards a carry pretty
Yep,
well.
yep.
So good on them.
On the Rams side, you got Stafford 25 for 34, 279 yards, and 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. But I mean, it's amazing what happens when you get your guys back, when you actually have viable people to throw to.
Yeah, it's wild. You give a guy his toys, and he can actually have fun playing.
Yeah. Kyron Williams, 97 yards on the ground. Puka comes right back, seven catches, 106 yards. Cup only 5 catches, 51 yards, but he got the touchdown.
Yep.
Uh, and yeah, he kind of spread it out to quite a few people. Let's see here: one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah, he had 9 people caught a ball from him.
Yeah,
That's
that's amazing,
that's
man.
spreading it out pretty good. All
Sure
right,
is.
all righty, let's move on. The third game here. We got this one right. Tennessee at Detroit. Detroit wins 52-14. We both had Detroit winning, But you know the stat that I want to point to, right?
I'm not sure. Hit me. Wait, because I'm struggling to find my page. So you tell me in the meantime.
If Detroit's going to score 52 points,
Oh, I know where you're going. I know where you're going. Keep going.
how in God's name does Jared Goff throw for 85 yards total?
It's amazing, right? Absolutely freaking amazing. Um, that is what they want to do. You know, like if that's why you can't rely on golf and fantasy because it ideally they're going to run the ball 38 times a game.
Right. But they didn't even, I mean, they ran it a lot, but I mean, not that much. I'm looking at the rushing. They ran it 23 times total. Everybody.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird things that happened in this game too. So that's yeah, no, that's a fair point.
Gibbs had 127 yards and a touchdown, but he only had 11 carries. Montgomery had a touchdown. Goff had a rushing touchdown. No, he didn't. He just hit rush for one time. I'm sorry. Montgomery actually threw for a touchdown on
Yeah,
that.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and four different people got touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brock Wright, Khalif Raymond, and Sam Laporta all got touchdowns. No one caught more than 48 yards. That was the leader. And the next one down, that was Laporta with 48. The next highest guy had 14.
Yeah, it's a weird way of getting to 52 points.
Well, it was defensively too. They forced three fumbles,
Yeah, no, they intercepted Rudolph twice on
and
top of that.
and Rudolph had two picks. Did they have like a kick return touchdown?
That's what I'm looking for now. I thought I remember. Oh yeah. Khalif Raymond had a 90-yard punt return.
There you go. I
Yep.
mean, they just scored every which way,
Yeah,
you
they
know.
really did. I mean, that's. Oh,
But
by the way,
still, 52 points and 85 yards makes no sense.
no, and here it makes less sense when you break it down like this. Check this out. Total yards, team wise, Lions 225 total yards, 61 passing yards. Take off a couple for sacks, I guess, um, and 164 rushing yards. That sounds like a first half.
Yeah,
Um, the Titans 416 total yards, 258 passing, 158 rushing. Looks like a team that won, but they turned the ball over 5 times and forget about it.
yeah, and get blown out 52-14. My God.
Yeah, that was a wild one. I was expecting giant stat numbers from that game. You know what I mean?
They also only had one sack, Detroit.
Yeah, it wasn't like this game doesn't add up other than the turnovers. That's
And,
that's the
and Tennessee had 35 minutes of possession time.
yeah. Yes, they won the they won the time of possession battle. I don't know, just odd, very odd the way this game was, and it doesn't add up in the final score.
I mean,
But
you could see Detroit winning despite all those numbers, but 52. I mean, good lord,
yeah, totally, man, totally. That's
try to put a 50 burger on them.
it's one of the weirdest based on the stats that I remember seeing, and the golf thing is priceless.
By the way, Minnesota and the Rams had 15 penalties. Baltimore and Cleveland had 14. Tennessee, Detroit had 11. Um, I am going to have the total numbers for the season. I didn't get a chance to do them all. I did a few weeks back just to see. We're averaging about 12 a week, 12 to 13 a week, like 12.6. So you could round up to 13 or so a week on a so far like the last for like I said like the last 4 or 5 weeks. I will go all the way back to the beginning of the season and get the complete average for the year, but that's what we're looking at, about 12. And I thought maybe the beginning of the year would have more, and we're getting better because there are some games this week that had very few penalties, which is good.
Yes,
But
yes.
we're not. But no, the beginning of the year is still about 12.
Interesting. Okay, okay.
Well, there was week four is as far back as so I haven't done one, two, and three yet. But week four did have 13, 13.7, so just about 14 per game. That's a lot.
That's yeah, absolutely,
But since
absolutely.
then, we've had 12. Week six, though, went back up to 13.5. Week seven, 12.3, and week eight, 12.7. So we're right in that range. We're about two more than we would like. We could tolerate 10, but 12, I still, 12 to 13, a little bit too much for me.
I'm with you, 100%,
And there's one
100%.
game this week that is ridiculous, but we'll get to
Oh, I can't wait because I didn't catch that, obviously, or I would know what you were talking about.
that.
Hey, breaking news, and not the one we talked pre-show because we'll wait for that game. Um, the Ravens just traded for Deontay Johnson.
The Ravens?
Yep,
Wow.
that's big, bro.
That is. Deontay Johnson's a good player.
He's really good, and he's going to team. They're going to. Wow, that's two little tiny fast receivers sprinting around all over the damn place for the Ravens with him and Zay Flowers. That's a big deal right there. Wow.
All right. Well,
All right.
moves are making. Well, the move that we talked about off air before we press record was pertaining to this team. Houston gets the win over the Colts 23-20. And I got to say, the Colts had this. In my opinion, like I was expecting them to pull the upset off. I mean, they were right there. They were up 10-3 at the end of the first quarter.
Uh,
Um, and didn't they do that last week too? Or no, was that Tennessee? That was Tennessee.
yes, yes. Tennessee.
But either way, Anthony Richardson just terrible again though. I mean, they got to go back to Flacco, right?
Well, I've been waiting for this game. Another piece of breaking news. Like we're doing this right at the sweet spot of ESPN's football guys announcing news because it's just been coming out in a flood since I sat down to start this with you. Um, uh,
Diggs.
they yanked Richardson. Flacco is starting this week.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Richardson was 10 for 32.
Unbelievable. He was, by the way, that's awful. Unbelievable. He was 2 for 15 at halftime.
Yeah, yeah. How did they not pull him at halftime? I don't know. He did have 45 yards on the ground, and he did only throw one pick, only one touchdown as well. Um, Josh Downs has become his guy. My guy, who I really have liked since last year, is just invisible now. Michael Pittman. But
Yeah.
if Flacco starts, Pittman might get back into
Oh,
the
Pittman
good
will be right
graces.
back into top top 20 receiver with Flacco. Absolutely.
Yep, and we mentioned last week we wanted to see C.J. Stroud because he was kind of middling a little bit for the first few weeks, and he had a really nice game. 25 for 37, 285, one touch, no picks.
Yep.
That's the kind of game you wanted to see, like a good passing game from him.
That's huge, man. That's huge. And Mixon continues to tear it up 25 for 102 and a touchdown, four catches for 32 yards. Um, and the other big news that came out since we sat down, and this is unfortunate for the Texans, Stephon Diggs out for the year. It was a non contact injury, which tends to be bad,
Yep.
if a guy goes down
What
without
is the
getting hit.
actual injury? Is it MCL or
Uh,
ACL?
I'm not 100%. Let me see if I'll effort while we're talking, but I know it popped up. It's
Non-contact
definitely
usually is like either an Achilles or
ACL.
yeah, ACL. There you go.
Yep, yep. One of the L's.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a shame, man. And Diggs, that's big for. I mean, he's a 30+ year old receiver coming off a torn ACL as a free agent now next year.
Yeah, I don't know how he's going to handle that, how that's going to go, because he's already, coming in. You thought maybe he'd be on the downside a little bit and be competing for that second receiver spot, and maybe not win it and be the third receiver here. But now it's just Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz really as viable options. Mixon can catch a few balls out of the backfield. Robert Woods is on this team. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I didn't
The
know.
Yeah, the ghost of Robert Woods.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he can, do anything anymore. But I think Nico Collins is. I just distinctly remember them saying they didn't expect him to miss much more than the mandatory 4 games of being on the IR. So if he can come right back, his 4 weeks I think is up like next week or something. He might be eligible to come back in week 10 maybe.
Yeah, I'm just looking at an article now that is asking whether Nico Collins will be ready to come back week 10. So it doesn't sound definite, but it sounds like they're certainly hopeful, and that's kind of the tentative plan.
Okay, I mean you put him back with Dell, they're fine.
They're right back to where they were last year when he had his great rookie season, Stroud.
Right. So they're fine, but they need him back, obviously.
Absolutely, he's huge, man. I mean, he's one of the best receivers in football. Like, I really think he's one of the top
But
10
yeah,
receivers in
this year
football.
before he got hurt, he emerged.
Yeah, he was.
He's
I
like
think he was
he's
number one in
now
fantasy.
Yeah, he was the number one receiver in fantasy, but I think he was just regarded as the number one receiver in football up to that point, regardless,
Yeah,
fantasy or not. He had amazing was having a great year, total breakout. Not that he wasn't highly regarded before, but just now he was basically elite, and
yeah.
he probably wasn't quite that coming in.
He was emerging as a super stud, no doubt about it.
So hopefully he could pick right up and continue that
I would think so. I mean,
because
as
I
long as
like
he's
him. I
healthy,
like him quite a
he's
bit.
great. I'm with you, man. He's one of my favorites, and he's a stud. He's for real, and if he's healthy, he'll come right back and be awesome, no doubt.
Yep. Okay. 14 penalties in this one,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm good with that game. If you're good,
Absolutely.
okay.
Oh, that did take away one of my. I only had two true or falses for this week, and that took away one of them because one of them was going to be if you were the coach of the Colts, would Joe Flacco be your starter next week?
Oh, and by the way, that would have been absolutely yes.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Like I said, I would have done it at halftime of this game.
I
Two
would
for
have too.
15. 2 for 15. Come on.
It's insane. Like I would love to know what the story is on him being so bad. It doesn't make sense. So I don't understand. He regressed even worse than his 50. He was 55% as a rookie, if I remember right, and he is now some. I believe I saw he's 44% for the year. That's worse than Tim Tebow. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a shame because, like we said, we've been saying we've seen it. We saw
Yep.
him be good last year.
Yep. We saw these real flashes, man, and it's not
Yeah,
like he
but
was. They were real.
yeah, dynamic, like kind of like Jaden Daniels
Yes.
this year.
Yep. Yep. Ugh.
Yep.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm with you. We can move on. It just blows my mind.
Okay, let's see here. Green Bay over Jacksonville, 30-27. We both got this one right.
Yeah, this was closer than I thought it would be, though. Holy moly!
Yeah, there was a chance. There was a point where I thought, I'm watching these games, trying to keep track. By the way, the 1 o'clock games all came down to the end, and it was fantastic. The red zone was bonkers.
Oh, there was so much going on. It was insane. I couldn't believe what was going on.
Yeah, the red zone at like 3:45 to 4 o'clock, or to 4:15 or so, was insane. Every game was coming down to the end. They were bouncing around to everything. It was like football utopia. It was fantastic.
That's awesome, man. I'm right. I totally understand, and I love it. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's great.
But yeah, Green Bay gets the win. Like you said, closer, and we both got it right. That's the third one in a row we got right. Um, after the first two getting wrong.
Right.
But yeah, Jacksonville just played better than I thought. They're not a good team, but every once in a sometimes they just get steamrolled. But every 2 or 3 games or so, they just come up with an inspired effort and play a really good team right to the end.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, and they did that this week, man. It was a last. It was a field goal as time was expiring to win this game for a team I thought was much better than them. So
Yeah,
credit to the Jags for playing well this week. See if they can take that forward to 2 consecutive weeks for the first time all season. That would be nice.
yeah. I mean, they scored 27 points too. I mean, that's not
No,
that's
that's
not
no
nothing.
joke. And the Packers defense has been pretty solid this year. So this is no, this is nothing to sneeze at here for the Jags this week. This was a real effort.
Yep. We got to talk about Jordan Love though. He's
Yep.
hobbled, and
Yep.
he got more hobbled. What are you hearing about him on the injury front? The last thing I heard was he's definitely compromised in some way, and they're going to take it day by day and see what basically see how it goes this week, and see if he can go on Sunday.
Basically, that's it. The more a couple more specifics to it is it's a groin injury. He had an MRI. It came back clean, but he is definitely sore, like clean as far as not like a horrible, like multi-week injury. But the update so far is Jordan Love has a shot in quotes to play week 9. So that's about as 50-50 as you'll hear.
That'll probably impact our Green Bay picks next podcast.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not so sure about that, and the only reason I say that because on the surface, absolutely, it sounds crazy not to think it would. But remember how well they did with Malik Willis earlier in the season?
Yeah, I do.
They didn't miss a beat, and Malik played unbelievably efficiently. Not Jordan Love throwing the ball 35 times a game type awesomeness, but crazy efficient. You know,
Well, I
like
mean, in this game, Jordan Love's 14 for 22, 196 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. I mean, there's nothing there that's popping off the page. Malik Willis went in this game after Love got hurt and went 4 for 5 for 56 yards and a touch.
yep, ran the ball 4 times for 22 yards. So yeah, he is he I don't know, they unlocked something when they picked him up from the Titans. He was
Yeah,
useless with the Titans, and he's been great every time he's been on the field for them for Green Bay. So
yeah,
I don't know how much it's going to affect my pick at all, honestly, because he's been so good. So I just wanted to point that out because it on the surface it seems like whoa, that's a major deal, but the way he's played this season, I don't know.
yeah. But don't forget too, Josh Jacobs, 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. That helps.
That's a big old game. That is a big old game right there.
Yep. Let's see here. Trevor Lawrence, 21 of 32, 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, but not bad at all.
No, that's a good game, especially for him this year, since the way he's been playing. That's a heck of a game. Um, the other big injury news
Yeah,
for
I was
them,
just going to say it.
yeah, Christian Kirk, bam, out for the year. It's a shame.
And isn't yeah, and Brian Thomas is a little nicked up too, although he's not out for the year or anything, but he's questionable, I think, for next week.
He went out with a chest injury. They're saying like it sounds pretty good that he might play, but it's 50. It's like better, a little better than 50. I think it's more likely that he plays than Jordan Love. Put it that way.
Right. 3 catches, but 60 yards, and he's the one who caught the touchdown. Evan Ingram also got a touchdown, but no yardage really. Um, yeah, they have just basically did ETN even play? I don't see him on here at all.
No, he's been out with that hammy for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, and Tank Bigsby is just taking over.
I'm curious when he comes back what that backfield's going to look like because if it's possible for him to have earned the job while he was out, he did. But it's not always you don't always, I mean, ATN was a first round draft pick. So, you know what I mean? And he still is averaging 4.1 yards a carry for the season. It's not like he's been awful. He's been just not as good as last year. So I'm curious, is it a 50-50 split when he comes back? Can ATN earn the job back? Do they just give it to him? Is it Bigsby's job entirely now? I don't know. There's a lot of outcomes there, and I'm not sure where it's going to land.
Well, they were not using ETN when he was healthy either. I mean, it was I think Tank Bigsby's job now.
Well, no, well, you might be right, but they were using ATN when he was healthy.
Yeah, but we were surprised looking at the stats and stuff that Bigsby was getting as much or more carries per game.
Yeah, that happened once or twice, no doubt, no doubt. But I mean, he had in his last, he got hurt on October 6th, so you got to wipe out those last two games. Then before that, he was 12, 13, 11, and 11 carries. So it was almost like a 50-50 split backfield.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like if it was me, Bigsby earned the job, but teams don't always look at it like that, because they still think of him as the first round draft pick or whatever. I'm curious to see because this is a regime that is in trouble, you know. Certainly Peterson. I don't know where the GM stands. I don't even know who the GM is, honestly. But
Yep.
this whole regime has to be in trouble. And if they're gonna just plop the guy who wasn't playing better back in over the guy, I don't know, man. I'm with you. Bigsby has earned it 100%.
Yep. Okay. So we both um, caveated our way right out of a win
Which
because
one? I forget.
Miami 27, Arizona 28.
Oh yes, yep.
Arizona
We
with the
sure
win,
did.
and we caveated that if Tua played, we both picked Miami. He did play, and they lost.
Yeah, and
And
he
we
played
both had
well.
Arizona initially.
Say that again.
We both had Arizona initially.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This Cardinals team is the hardest team in football to figure out for me. They are
I agree.
they are up and down. Kyler Murray is impossible to figure out. He looked like crap for a good solid 3 or 4 week stretch there. This week, he had one of the best games of any quarterback in the league.
Yes.
26 of 36, 307, two touchdowns, no picks. I mean, that's incredible. So I can't figure this team out at all.
Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr. 106 catches, 111 yards and a touch. Trey McBride 9 catches, 124 yards.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Man, yeah, can't figure it out. Tua was okay, 234 yards, a touch, and no picks. Um, but they still are splitting between Atran and Mostert. Mostert got 2 touchdowns, but Atran had only 10 carries, but 97 yards. That's almost a 10 yard per carry average. Why I would I'd make him the main guy, make Mostert the short yardage guy.
Yeah, I you would think they'd be there already with that, but they're not. Also, Jalen Wright, their third running back, has played better than Mo. Jalen Wright is averaging something crazy, like 6 yards a carry in his limited chances. So, yeah, I think Mostert, I think, is getting the veteran respect right now. But if he keeps putting up 9 carries for 19 yards, that's not going to last forever.
Right.
So
And Atran also caught 6 balls for 50 yards and another touchdown.
he's one of the best running backs in football. Like that guy is dynamic. If he was on a if he had been on a better team this year, he'd be you know he'd be in the discussion for the top fantasy running back.
Yep, yep. Trying to see if there's anything else really all that interesting. Yardage was pretty close. No picks at all thrown in this game and no fumbles, no turnovers by either team,
Isn't that wild?
and only 1 sack allowed.
Yeah, that's wild, man. That's wild. That's a clean game that you don't see very often. That's pretty cool. That's
And glory, hallelujah, there were a total of 6 penalties in this game.
oh my goodness, that's great, boy. That's incredible. That would have been a fun game to watch. I wish I could have watched that game on TV with all
Yeah,
those 6 penalties.
28-27. Arizona's now back up to 500, 4-4. I mean, I don't know.
They're so weird, man. Like they're so weird. I'm gonna pull up their schedule so we can just look game by game because figure this team out, man. I mean, I can't. Um, almost have it here. Dun, dun. Okay, so we know they just beat a pretty. I don't know what the Dolphins are because it's hard to rate them without Tua. Tua's back. They beat at least a mid muck team, maybe with Tua. um, Now you just go back one week at a time. They beat the Dolphins, then they beat the Chargers 17-15. So they beat a solid team. Not a great team, but a solid team. They lose 13-34 to the Packers. Then the week before that, they beat the 49ers 24-23.
Yep.
They lose to the Commanders 42-14. And I know the Commanders are a good team, but they're not blowing everybody out. You know what I mean? Um, they lose to the Lions 20-13. No shame there. And they beat the Rams 41-10. And they lost to the Bills 28-34. I can't figure this team out. I don't know what is going on there. Kyler Murray plays great one week, plays awful for 3 weeks in a row. I can't figure him out at all.
I'm right there with you. They are impossible.
Yeah, they really are. That's awesome.
All right, let's move on. Oh man. Patriots 25, Jets 22.
Oh
You
boy.
said last week we're gonna find out how good or how bad the Jets are. They're this bad. That's how
We
bad they are.
we sure found out. And not only are they so bad that they lost to the Patriots, they're so bad that they lost to the Patriots without Drake May. Not that there's
Yeah.
no disrespect to Jacoby Brissett, but they were a horrible team when Jacoby Brissett was playing. They were all of a sudden competitive with Drake May. And what he played like less than a quarter. Where's my stats? He was 3 for 6 for 23 yards before he went out with a concussion. So man, I mean the Jets are in a free fall. This whole thing is awful, and I just can't believe it.
Sorry, I'm here. Um,
No worries.
I accidentally hit the mute button.
Oh, right on. Nice. No worries.
Anyway, yeah. If you want to have a good time, if you like to watch people crash out and just lose their shit, listen to Mike Francesa's podcast.
Oh, that's
And
I will.
the Mike Francesa podcast, you don't have to go and listen to the whole, listen to it all the time, but just listen to the Jets post game podcast.
Okay.
It is hilarious. He loses his mind, but he points out a few things. The Jets are the one of the, and I still think they are one of the most talented teams in the league, but they have the worst coaching ever. Like their coaching staff is abysmal,
Yeah. Yes.
and they have no leaders at
I
all, no leadership at all. And
couldn't
how
agree
do
more.
you not have any timeouts left? They blew their first timeouts in the first quarter, all three of them.
That's bonkers.
They couldn't get the plays in. They took a few delayed games. Then later in the game, they blew all their timeouts early in the fourth quarter.
That's
By midway through the fourth quarter, they had no timeouts again. They know that they score that touchdown, and they know they're going to go for two. They knew this. If they score a touchdown at the end, they have to go for two.
hmm
They know that, and the announcers are saying that they're going to obviously go for two if they can get in here. They get in, and they can't and they take another delay a game. How?
That's
How is that
insane.
possible?
That's
How do you
insane.
take a delay of game when you know going in, when that drive started, if we can get in the end zone, we're going for two. How do you not have the play ready to go? They took a delay of game
That's crazy.
and they couldn't call a timeout because they didn't have any.
And that's nuts. And I'm 100% with you on how bad that coaching staff is. I mean, you have Nathaniel Hackett as your still, I think he's still technically the offensive coordinator, or
Well, they,
he's
they took the play calling duties away from him.
correct. Yes. But he's still the guy in the booth and he's still the game plan guy, if I understand correctly.
I
The
believe.
fact that anybody hired him after that stint in Denver is insane to me. Um, but all that being said, and I'm with you 100% on all that, Aaron Rodgers has been in the league for 100 years. Where is he on all this stuff? He knew that. He could have hustled the team up to the line and called a play. I mean, what
Yeah,
is he doing? You know,
he's not a leader.
he's not. He's never has been. Yeah, no, I agree with
Yeah,
that.
and you hear about him not wanting to help Jordan Love. He's not teaching much. Although last year apparently he did with Wilson, Zach Wilson. But
And we saw how
regardless,
that helped.
yeah. By the way, they're worse this year with Aaron Rodgers than they were last year with Zach Wilson.
Yes, yes, you are. I heard that. That's great. I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to bring that up at one point. I forgot. Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe it. Like that's just astonishing. It's so weird to see them struggling so much offensively with the. And where was Brees Hall again this week? I mean, they're just.
Well, he had 16 carries for 80 yards,
Yes, I know, but it just they threw the. He had 95 receiving yards the week before. How many catches did he have this week?
one for 9 yards.
Yeah,
Yep. But Garrett Wilson at five had 113 yards. Devontae Adams still acclimating, I'm sure, but four catches, 54 yards. Rodgers didn't throw any picks. He threw 233 yards, two touchdowns. Um, it just was bad on the defense too. Their defense is really bad all of a sudden.
it's weird. I don't get it. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's add on top of that old Legatron, Greg Zerline missed a field goal and an extra point. Uh,
They're calling for his head on the New York radio. They want Zerline out of there.
well, I don't blame them, but you know, I don't blame them at all. But there's a lot more wrong with that team than Greg
Oh,
Zerline. So
absolutely. I totally agree.
let's get. I mean,
Um,
if we're calling for people's jobs, I'd be leading the charge for Nathaniel Hackett. By the way,
right, but that won't happen.
no, because then Rogers would get his butt hurt.
Yeah. Yep. But the thing is, you look at the Patriots stats, and they're nothing to write home about. There's nothing here.
No,
Drake May left early.
yep.
Uh, through was 3 for 6, 23 yards. Brissett 15 for 24, 132 yards, no touches, no picks. Stevenson ran for 48 yards on 20 carries, only a 2.4 yard average.
Amazing.
There's nothing here, yet they win the game. Uh, the Jets let them go right down the field at the end and score that touchdown.
Yes, yes. With Jacoby Brissett and I mean, if anybody that's not a hardcore football fan can name one receiver that plays for the Patriots, I'll give them $20.
Yeah,
I mean, you and I can, but but not many people could. It's
yeah.
crazy. It's
Hunter
crazy.
Henry's probably their best receiver, even though he's a tight end.
And I learned that it's Pop Douglas. Was it Demario Douglas? Is that the right name?
Yeah, Demario Douglas. Yeah.
His nickname is Pop, which I didn't know. Pop Douglas.
Well, he should pop off a little more because he had 2 catches, 12 yards.
That's awesome. Good one.
And Kayshawn
Yeah, is it Booty?
Bout
Like I'm looking at that name. Is that Booty?
or Boutte.
Boutte? Yeah, if we're gonna church it up like Joe Dirte.
So we got Pop and Booty and
Oh, that's awesome.
Pop and Booty is leading the charge here for with a combined 5 catches and 58 yards. But I mean that's what we're looking at. That's who they have. They have this other kid, Taekwon
Yep.
Thornton, and I mean just a bunch of no-name guys.
Well,
Jacoby Brissett.
they have the same issue with receiver that the New York Giants have with offensive line, and it's been a decade now, easily. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
They have
it's
Antonio Gibson too, and they don't give him the ball.
yeah, and he's had a couple chances that and he didn't do well either. But for some reason they keep going back to Stevenson when he has 20 carries for 48 yards, but they don't keep going back to Gibson when he has a similar type game. And I've always liked Gibson. I'm kind of with you there. Um, I thought Commanders grossly misused him coming out. I still am waiting for somebody to remember that he caught like 100 passes in college.
Yeah.
Like he should clearly be doing what Justice Hill is doing for the Ravens.
Yes. Clearly.
But nobody has used him that way yet. It's so weird to me. I don't get it.
Me neither. Yeah, the Jets are really bad, and my goodness.
I'm blown away at how bad they are, my man. Blown away.
Yeah, they were supposed to be. They were supposed to be. This was the year.
Hey, I bought in. I didn't buy it. I think I picked them to finish second in the division. So I mean, I didn't buy in that they were going to the Super Bowl, but I bought in that they were going to be real.
I thought
And
they were
they
going to
are.
be good at least.
I thought they would be. I mean, I would have bet they'd finish over 500. I would have bet a healthy chunk. You
Yeah.
know, and that
Yep.
ain't happening. So yeah, this
No.
team is going to get blown up. There will be not a single person standing on that sideline that is not in uniform will be there next year. All the coaches will be gone, every single one of them, and a lot of the players will be gone. I'm curious to see if Rodgers retires after the season or if he wants to try again somewhere else because he's not coming back to the Jets. I don't think.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Um. So let's see. So we both got that wrong. We both picked the Jets. We both got the Arizona game wrong because we caveated with Tua.
Yeah. Whoops.
And the only difference this week is this game where I got it wrong, you got it right. Uh, I had a gut feeling about Tampa Bay. Um, Atlanta wins 31-26, but Tampa Bay, despite all their injuries, played really, really well and had this game. They had a real chance at the end to win this game. And in my eyes, they almost should have won this game. Just looking at it, the way it was going, uh, Baker Mayfield threw 50 times. That's never a good thing, but 330 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 picks, but he's throwing to, Cade Otton, who had the 2 touchdowns, who's a good tight end. But then after that, it's Raheem Jarrett, Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer. I mean, there's just nobody left here.
Yeah, this was
Rashad
a
White, yeah.
he threw a lot to his running backs. That was where a lot of the missing receiver throws went. I think the Bucky Irving and White combined for at least roughly 10 catches. I want to say
Yeah, 12
right
or
on.
11. 11.
Okay. Yeah, that was. I mean, this was a wild ass game. I mean, Cousins played his ass off. 23 for 29, 276, four touchdowns, no picks. Um, Baker, Baker. The thing with Baker is he still bakers it up every now and then, and throws a weird pass that you're like, "What the hell are you doing?" And ends up with two picks at the end of the game. But he can still like that dude is a real player now. So it is.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see, and it shows you they're going to be still viable without those two receivers. And when they get Mike Evans back, they'll be very viable. So
Yes. Kyle Pitts, another good week, 91 yards and two touchdowns.
all of a sudden,
Um,
he's on fire.
yeah, hopefully that'd be nice for him to finally fulfill all those expectations from 3-4 years ago,
It sure would. It sure would.
because he hasn't up to this point.
No, he had 1,000 yards his rookie season, and then two pretty bad years.
Yep. Darnell Mooney also. Bijan Robinson had a decent day. 7 catches with a touchdown. He led the team in receiving receptions
Yep.
and led the team in
However,
carries. And Al Jair still gets 12 carries though.
that's what I wanted to say because we talked about this last week. Remember my because Bijan finally got 20 carries last week, and Algier was nowhere to be found. But they lost the game. And I said, I'm hoping that the coaches don't look at that as, oh, we have to give the ball to Algier more again. And boy, they sure did. Now, the good thing is for us Robinson guys is Algier only averaged 2.8 yards a carry this week on 12 carries. So you gave Bijan the ball 13 times. He got 63 yards out of it. You gave Algier one less carry and he only got 33 yards. So at some point, this has to result in Bijan getting 20 carries and Algier getting 5 instead of a dead even split.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Oh boy. All right. Well, by the way, the Jets game had 13 penalties, and Atlanta and Tampa Bay had 10.
Oh, okay. Well, that's on our right on the edge of acceptable list.
Yeah. Not bad. There's a few of them this week that, I'm looking, I'm like, oh, okay. But there's one that's just bonkers that blows everything out.
I'm so curious. I can't wait to get there.
Oh, by the way, the New England over the Jets, that was my upset.
Oh, geez, nice one, man.
So we
Nice.
both we both got our upsets right.
That's rare.
It's rare just for even one of us to get it.
It really is. It really is.
To
So,
be
yeah.
honest, has there ever been a week where we both got the upset right?
Not that I remember off the top of my head. No,
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure.
All right. Well, you've got to be happy with this one. Philadelphia 37-17 over Cincinnati. Go for it.
Yeah, man. Like this, 2 weeks in a row. The Eagles are. I mean, who knows? I mean, I was so fooled last year at 10-1. You just never know. But the last 2 weeks, the Eagles are becoming the team I thought they would be this year, or at least have at my highest hopes. They destroyed a pretty decent team here. You know what I mean? This was
Yep.
awesome because the Bengals looked like they were getting back on a roll here, and the Eagles just absolutely pummeled them. And they did it without two of their starting offensive linemen. Lane Johnson even went out for a couple drives. This game was never in question, wasn't close, and everybody, all of a sudden, Hurts is becoming Mr. Efficiency again. He has not turned the ball over, I think, in 3 weeks,
Yep.
and he's playing incredibly well. The bomb to Devontae Smith and the catch that Devontae Smith made was
Yeah.
that was a thing of beauty, man. Thing of beauty. Trying to think of what else I wanted to
Yeah.
specifically
I mean,
talk
Smith
about.
85 yards, AJ Brown 84 yards, Saquon 108 yards, Jalen 236 yards, but he had 3 rushing touchdowns, three tush pushes.
It was two tush pushes and an actual run.
Oh, right,
Uh,
right, right. Two. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the other one. Yep.
he is something else with that tush push. It's funny because it's a little less effective, even though it's working. They're not getting like 2 or 3 yards every time they did it when Kelsey was here last year. It's now like they're getting it by the nose of the football, but it's still working.
Right,
So
right.
I'm curious to see at some point the league is going to figure this play out, but they still haven't yet, and good. So that's good for you as a Hertz fantasy owner too, because that's going to just exponentially put up his rushing touchdown numbers.
Yes, absolutely.
A couple things about this game. The Eagles' defense is all of a sudden becoming really good, and it's astonishing me. I'm blown away by it. Uh, the the Barkley addition has been everything you hoped it would be, and then some.
Yep.
I mean, just astonishingly so. I mean, he is just. They started doing this thing, and ESPN's been talking about it, and I've been noticing it before they started talking about the Eagles adding under the center snaps to their offense and how efficient Barkley is when they do that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's nice to see them acknowledge something that's not part of their normal thing and run with it. And I just love seeing that because sometimes teams get stubborn, and I think Mike McDaniel in Miami is a perfect example of that guy who just refuses to change his offense, even when what's Snoop's last name? The bad backup quarterback that they had for a
Huntley.
couple of
Huntley.
Huntley. Even when Snoop Huntley's in, they're giving him the same stuff they gave Tua, which is insane. So, oh, breaking news, my friend. In the day of breaking news, Derek Carr is back this week.
Oh, good. That's our next game. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to mention about Philadelphia. That was the most complete game they've played in probably a year.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was what they were when they were 10-1 before the slide last year. Um, they looked fantastic. They looked like everything's finally going the right way, and that's the best they've looked all the year this year and going back to last year. Um, so we are going to do the we're going to define the muck.
Yes,
I think we'll do it at the end of the next podcast. So
because it's a
look
shorter
for
one. That
yeah,
makes sense.
look for the definition of the muck at the end of the week 9 preview podcast. We're going to define what it is, the tiers, and it's what we use around here as kind of just a funny term we were using, but we've actually defined it now. We have every team where they stand in terms of the muck or out of the muck or in the muck. We're going to do every single team. And yeah, anyway.
I love that. Yep, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, so you say Derek Carr's back because that's good because they need him.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge because Spencer Rattler is certainly not. I mean, he may or may not be an NFL quarterback, but he certainly is not yet.
And then they had Jake Hayner in. Who the hell's Jake Hayner?
Jake Hayner is the guy who's played better every time he's been in the game than Spencer Rattler, but because he wasn't a draft pick, they refused to stick with him. He was the guy that we remember when I was saying we were talking about Cleveland last week and who was going to be the starting quarterback because the three name guy was the backup, but Winston became the starter, right?
Right, right.
This was the team I was trying to think of, and I couldn't think of it when we were talking about it last week because when Carr went down, Hayner was the game day backup. But then they made Spencer Rattler the starter after that. Hayner played better in that backup role then, and in after Rattler got benched this week, then Rattler has played at all. But again, because Rattler was a fourth round draft pick, they want to shove him in there even though he hasn't earned it. So Hayner's I don't know his whole story. I just know he's played better than Rattler for sure.
I did not pay attention to this game after halftime. I mean, it was just an ugly score. It was 9-5. What the hell's that? 9-5.
I know. Well,
At the end of the
Dolly
first
Parton said
quarter, it
it's
was
a great way
two
to
to
make a
nothing.
living. 9-5 at the half is insane. That's like a baseball game.
Yeah, we both picked the Chargers to win. They win 26-8. We both got that one right, but I don't know. The 9-5, just I was just like, eh, and I was kind of done. Chris Olave, 107 yards. Is there an injury update on him though?
I haven't seen anything. I think he went out of the game and came back in. So as far as I know, he is good. But
Okay, good,
I will double check that while we're talking.
and that's good for Carr too.
Huge, huge, and just a quick fantasy sidetrack. If you were like a lot of us Olave owners disappointed heavily through the first several weeks of the season, you are now about to get happy because he is the only guy left.
Yes, he is. My God, they got nothing. Yeah, Jawan Johnson. That's it, and
Yeah,
he's
yeah, the guy who every 4 weeks or every 4 to 6 weeks shows up and has two touchdowns, and then you put him in your fantasy lineup and you get bagels for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. Kamara, nice game. Only 10 carries, but 67 yards, so 6.7 average. And then he caught 6 balls for another 55. So that's an Alvin Kamara kind of game. That's exactly what that guy does.
It really is, and very impressive against this really good San Diego defense to average that much per carry, and to do that well receiving too. That's a heck of a performance. He is one hell of a player.
And the Chargers are starting to get good play out of Herbert again.
That was a
Um,
hell of a game by him for sure.
279 and two touches, no picks.
And he ran 4 times for 49 yards. When was the last time you saw that from him?
Yep. Dobbins had a touchdown. Didn't have a great day on the ground, but did get in the end zone. And Lad McConkey,
Yes.
I thought for sure he was related to Phil McConkey, but apparently he's not.
No, I thought so too. What are the odds? Two white NFL receivers named McConkey, and they're not related. But
Six
that might have been his
receptions,
real coming
100.
out party there, my man.
Yeah, 6 receptions, 111 yards, and two touchdowns. The ghost of Josh Palmer, 2 catches, 72 yards.
Nice.
Yeah, that guy, I always bought into him, and he burned me time after time after time. And I almost bought into him again this year, and I didn't, thankfully. But every time I draft him late in a draft, and then before this year, if Mike Williams or Keenan Allen got hurt, Palmer would move up obviously in the pecking order, and I'd always play him, and he always disappointed.
Yeah, man. No, I'm with you. That guy has been on the about to break out list for a few years now, and it's just not happening. So I don't know. I've given up on him entirely.
I mean, he got
Um,
72 yards in this game, but it's all in one play because he only had 2 catches.
right, and he might do that here and there. And who knows? As this team kind of settles into this regime and this year, maybe he'll emerge as their number 3 guy or something.
Well,
But
well,
he's
Will Disley is probably the two.
he's a tight end though, so he's
Oh,
the
that's right. Well, he
yeah.
had 2 targets. Yeah, she actually led the team in targets this week. Tied.
Disley, I've liked Disley for a long time. He had so many injuries. He was drafted by Seattle years ago,
Actually, I'm
and
looking at it. Who's the other receivers besides McConkey and Palmer?
well, it's Quentin Johnson who was out.
Oh, right. He'll be the number three,
Yeah, he'll be well. Yeah, he'll probably be. I
and
would say
he'll
he
be the
probably is
number
number
two,
2.
and Palmer will be three. That's what I
That's
meant.
exactly what I'm thinking. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But Lad McConkey's coming out party might have been this week. I think this guy could be heading towards being a big time receiver in this league. We'll see. I don't know. He's not crazy like his traits just don't jump off the chart at you. But he is one hell of a route runner, and I think he's going to be around a long time and be very good.
I agree. I agree. Alrighty, let's move on. Oh, come on. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
That had 11 penalties, so that's fine.
Okay.
Um, Buffalo at Seattle.
Aha.
Seattle does this. This is
Yeah.
why you can't really fully invest. We sing their praises. They're a solid team, and then they go back home and get destroyed basically by the Bills. 31-10. I mean, my God, you almost now DK did not play, right?
Correct.
Okay, so your caveat gets you the win.
Yes.
You caveated if DK played, if there was no DK, you had Buffalo winning, and if DK did play, you actually had Seattle winning, but he did not play.
Yes.
Sorry, sneezed. Okay,
Oh, no worries.
so we
Bless
both
you.
got that one right. This is the game that had 24 penalties.
Oh my God, 24?
24.
I mean, how do you? That's crazy.
I don't get it. Um, Just wanted to mention that
Yeah.
James Cook had a really nice day. 17 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Caught a couple balls too. Josh Allen, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have a pick, but overall, just a really good game for Buffalo. And what do you think now about Keon Coleman? He's coming out a little bit. He had another touchdown, 70 yards. What do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I think this could be like what Amari Cooper has. By the way, Amari Cooper second week in Buffalo, 1 catch, 3 yards. But it's not a failure because what Amari Cooper has instantly done coming to this team is make everybody better. Yeah, and you've seen it both weeks. Khalil Shakir, if you're in a PPR, is a monster. Keon Coleman, this could be the start of him becoming really good. Um, Amari Cooper's made everybody better, including Josh Allen, and so this is. I'm not sure how this is going to play out season wide. I think it's going to break because Amari Cooper has been one of the most up and down receivers in his whole career.
Absolutely.
He's always ends up with like 1,200 yards and like 70 to 80 catches, but it's a weird ride, you know. Um, so I don't know who you're gonna want to play in fantasy week to week. I think probably the safest guy is Shakir, but Coleman's gonna pop up here and there, and Cooper's gonna have his big game. So I don't know. This is just great for them in real life football because they are dynamic now.
And I got to say, give credit to their defense. Their defense shut down Seattle here. I'm looking at the stats. Geno Smith was efficient enough, 21 for 29, but 212 yards, no touches, and a pick. Kenneth Walker, 9 carries, 12 yards.
A crazy,
Zach
crazy. And
Charbonnet, 3 carries, 4 yards.
by the way, part now it doesn't make it a whole lot better, but part of the reason Kenneth Walker's stat line was epically bad was because there was a missed shotgun snap that went over Geno's head like 30 yards behind him, and Kenneth Walker picked it up, ran for 11 yards, but got minus 21 yards on the play on the stat line.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
But add 21 yards back to that stat line, it's still only 9 carries for 33 yards.
Yeah, that's still nothing. Yep,
Right.
yep. Um, Jackson Smith Jigba. That's a hard one to say.
It sure is.
Um, he's also coming out a little bit, emerging a little bit. Six catches, 69 yards, and I've always heard about him, and I've heard that good things, but he hasn't really fulfilled it. But maybe he will start to.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He has shown zero ability so far in the NFL to be a real breakaway sort of threat guy. I think he's a very solid, kind of like a PPR darling sort of player. I think he's gonna never. I don't think the guy's ever gonna average more than like 10 to 13 yards a catch. But I think he's a very solid NFL player, and I think they have a perfect complement. If they could keep DK for another 3 or 4 years, and Lockett goes off into retirement soon, and he'll be a great number two, and then eventually maybe be the number one.
I I totally agree. I was looking at here the time of possession. Good Lord, Buffalo had it 38 minutes
Woo!
to Seattle's 21. Good
Wow.
Lord.
That's when you know you're getting just the ever living snot beat out of you.
And Buffalo had 13 penalties, and Seattle had 11.
Woo! I
My
mean, that's
God.
incredible, man. That game must have been it just been awful to watch. Wow.
Yeah, just every play. I mean, just I just can't stand it. It just ruins these games.
I agree. It's gross. It's really bad.
All right, if you're ready to move on, I can. I am as well.
Let's do it.
Where do I have this game? Okay, Washington over Chicago, 18-15.
Oh
Are
boy.
you kidding me?
Oh boy, my man. This was something
We
else.
both caveated our way to a win with this one. Both said if Daniels plays, we picked Washington. If not, we picked Chicago. Daniels did play. Boy, did he ever.
I'll tell you what, man. This was impressive because I don't know about you, but I did not expect him to play.
Me neither.
Okay. And he proved his toughness in this game. He made Tony Romo eat his words because Tony, like a lot of us, I think, had a script in his head that Daniels was going to be a little off because of this rib, and he spent a whole lot of time talking about it early, and then he heaved that beautiful bomb early. It was a perfect pass right as Tony Romo got done talking about how he's off today because of the rib, and that shut up Romo, which is not easy to do. And
Yep.
he played. I mean, this game was wild. This was a weird game, though. I mean, we'll get to the dramatic end in a bit here, but this game was Washington outgaining them dramatically, outgaining the Bears dramatically, but only putting up field goals.
Yeah,
And
they
then,
couldn't get in the end zone.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, the Bears are in position to win this game at the end. Uh, should have won the game, you know.
They really
And
should have. They had this game.
And I don't know the. Do you have the stats pulled up? Do you know the total team yardage? How it ended up in the end? Because I know at one point Washington was way ahead.
Well, they ended up way ahead. 481 total yards, which is bonkers with the because Chicago's defense I thought was pretty good.
Very good. I'm with you.
481 yards for Washington, 307 for Chicago.
Okay, and a lot of that came with them down big. Like I think they weren't they down 12? What was it? 12-0 or something?
Um, yeah,
Sorry.
well, it was 9-0 in halftime.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of that came when they were desperate at the end and trying to claw back into the game. So I mean, that's a wild like for Washington to have left the door open for the Bears and need what happened at the end of the game to happen was not great on their part. But there was a lot of really interesting stuff about this game. Whew.
Yeah, 21 for 38, 326 yards, touchdown, no pick for Jaden Daniels. He also scampered for another 52 yards, surprisingly.
Amazing.
Brian Johnson had 65 yards rushing. Austin Eckler gets 7 carries for 52 yards. Maybe
Yep.
they heard the podcast.
Yeah, right.
We're calling for Austin Eckler to get the ball a little bit.
Seriously. And he averages how much a carry? I mean, come on.
7.4.
Yeah. I
Um,
think
Terry McLaurin, 125 yards. His best game yardage wise in a while.
it's amazing how he's all of a sudden an all pro again with a decent quarterback.
All right. Of course, it's got to be Noah Brown, right? Former Cowboy.
Ex Cowboy, yep.
So we're talking about, I'm sure you know if you're listening, this bomb at the end that gets tipped in the air and then falls right to Noah Brown standing behind the big pile as everybody's jumping up for the Hail Mary end of game. Balls in the air, zeros are on the clock, and he comes down with it. And and Washington wins this game on literally a last second bomb, where therefore Chicago loses, but they had this game won other than just this last play. If that last play just falls to the ground, which it should have, which it always should, those should never work,
Right.
and they would have won this game in a way that doesn't make any sense because they got dominated really on the stat board. They didn't really do anything of note offensively other than DeAndre Swift with 129 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he
But
had that big run,
Caleb
yep.
Williams 10 for 24. Come on.
I mean that's just in the battle of who's the better rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels clearly won.
Yeah, 10 for 24, 130 yards. I mean, come on. We need more from you for that. But, give Washington credit. They got the win, unlikely as it was. And the hype train for Jaden Daniels is just going to get bigger and bigger.
Wow, he just yeah. I mean, coming off that injury, I don't think many people thought he was going to play, you and I included, and to play that well with a rib injury was is just astonishing. Now, the thing I want to hit on that, did you see the breakdown of this Hail Mary play and what Tyreek Stevenson, the Bears cornerback, was doing?
Yes.
This is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I don't know what's going to happen to this poor guy, but whatever it is, he deserves it.
Was
They
he
did that
joining
break.
with fans or the sideline?
It was fans, and they
Oh
had
my
that.
God.
They ISO'd it on ESPN and NFL Network, and he was still talking to the fans 4 seconds after the snap.
Yeah. He was looking the other way.
Yep, he was almost at the bottom of the field in the corner of the beginning of the end zone. And the crazy thing is, he's the one that got back and got his hand on the ball. That he was the one that made the tip that allowed Noah Brown to catch
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
And the thing is, you're supposed to everybody practices the bomb the same way. You're
Yep,
supposed to have somebody behind the pile or the everybody jumping for the ball. You're supposed to have somebody behind there to prevent what happened prevent that from happening. You're not supposed to have you're supposed to have somebody there with the other guy because they're going to have somebody behind there as well in
yep,
case there's a tip. You're supposed to have somebody there with him to
yeah.
make sure he doesn't catch that ball. And there was nobody there. Noah Brown was alone.
The Bears had the Bears only rushed 3 people. So theoretically, they should have had 8 people back there, and not a single one of them was in the end zone.
Ah,
The other thing they did that was crazy that allowed that play to happen was they just let them just wing out a 13-yard out route with 5 seconds left to get 13 more yards to be even able to throw the Hail Mary in the first place.
wow. Well, kudos to Washington. You got to give them credit.
Big time, and they outplayed them the entire game,
Right.
except so they kind of earned this win in a way, but wow, what a dramatic and what a great little thing to add to the early legacy of Jaden Daniels, and what is, I'm going to assume, is the first of many big games between these two good young quarterbacks.
I hope so. I hope so. All right. I'm ready to move on here. Broncos, Panthers. Well, I did not watch a second of this. Um, yeah, this does nothing for me. 28-14, Denver wins. We both got it right. By the way, we got them all right the rest of the way.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We finished the week 8 games in a row correct to end the week.
Heck yeah.
Um, anyway, 28-14. Bryce Young, not a terrible. I mean, 24 for 37, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 2 picks. Chuba Hubbard, 56 yards. Jalen Coker had 78 yards and a touchdown.
Had you ever heard of Coker before this weekend? By the way,
No,
I
no,
hadn't.
I think I heard the name before, but not really.
He was new to me.
Miles Sanders, 7 catches. That's good. They should be
Where the
even
hell
hitting
did
that.
that come from?
Yeah, but I mean, really nothing here. Of course, because it's the Panthers.
Yeah,
Um, Bo Nix, not a nice game. 28 for 37,
it is.
284 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah, and he ran for another touchdown. I mean, it is officially time for us to reevaluate Bo Nix. I mean,
He's
for
good.
me anyway. I did not like this guy coming out. Then he had a heck of a preseason, and I started wondering, oh boy, maybe I was wrong. You know what I mean? And then he looked awful for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and
Yep.
he had slowly played a little better and a little better until this week, having one hell of a game.
I think he's
Playing.
got the right coach the right coach for a young quarterback.
No doubt. And listen, he outplayed Caleb Williams by 1,000-fold this weekend.
Yep.
So, I mean, let's give this guy some credit. He's earned it.
Cortland Sutton had 100 yards, eight
Yeah, that's something
catches.
you hear. That's something you don't you hear about as often as Haley's Comet.
Yep. And 11 targets.
Which, yeah, again, not something. A lot of Cortland Sutton fans that have given up a long time ago on him being a viable fantasy guy have been wanting that for a long time.
Javante Williams didn't do much. He had 44 yards on 17 carries. That's not going to get it done.
I can't
That
figure
guy
that guy
is
out.
so up and down. I can't figure him out either.
Can't figure him out. He had a hell of a game a couple weeks ago. Had played pretty well for a couple weeks in a row, and then he does that. So I don't know. I can't figure him out at all.
Yeah, this game had 12 penalties, and I don't have a whole lot to add.
Now, other than wanting to give Knicks a lot of credit, that's about all I have to say about that one.
Yeah, I mean Denver is 5-3 now.
Which is, I just can't believe it, Craig. That's the most astonishing outcome of the first 8 weeks of this entire season to me.
All right, I'm ready to move on
Let's
to
do it.
Kansas City 27, the Raiders 20. Raiders played well, and I kind of thought they would. Um, I had it. I had it 23-13, so I did not have it as a blowout. You had it 20-9. Um, but again, I mean, Patrick Mahomes had a decent day, 262 yards, 2 touches, and a pick. To be honest, that's one of his better days of the year, which is crazy to say, but it's
Crazy.
absolutely true.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
We were talking last week. You made a good point about their defense is better, so they might be better. But my point about Patrick Mahomes is definitely also true.
For sure.
Even compared to last year, last year we know was a down year,
Absolutely.
But last year, after 7 games, he had 2,017 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 picks. This year, after 7 games, he's got 1,651 yards.
Yeah, no, it's wild, man. You were
That's
absolutely correct.
yeah, that's 300. That's almost 400 yards difference.
No, that you were absolutely correct. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. The bad part of Mahomes' year came after that last year. Like you add up to where he ended up at the end of the year. If you just multiply that by two, he would have had a heck of a decent year. 30
Yeah,
touchdowns, 16 picks.
right,
But and that was only 7 games. That's not even half a season anymore.
right.
Uh,
So yeah, you're right. But that means that he hasn't been playing well now since the whole second half of last year and the first 7 games of this year.
except the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl,
Right,
where he was the MVP. So
right.
figure that out.
But the most astonishing thing to me, actually, is the fact that he had 15 touchdowns after 7 games last year, and he only has 8 touchdowns this year, and he has 9 picks. He has more picks than touchdowns. He has 9 picks and eight touchdowns.
It's incredible. That blows my mind. Now, everything is different now that they got Nuke Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins changes everything. So let's see how this goes from here on out.
Yep.
Because, last year he started having Rashid Rice emerging right around this time. Um, and maybe DeAndre Hopkins will be that or something close to it this year for him and get him back on track. But, you know, I
It
think
got it got Travis Kelsey open.
oh yeah, like every now and then, this a couple times this season, you've tried to bury Travis Kelsey, and I keep telling you he's not dead.
Yeah. Yep. 10 receptions, 90 yards, and a touch.
Yeah, man, it's just like I don't know. Like Kelsey's obviously getting up there in age, and I just don't think he has that in him every week anymore. But he still has it.
Yep. I think he's going to retire this year. By the way,
He might. It wouldn't surprise me,
because there was
especially
talk
if I
last
mean,
year that he might retire.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean, and he's making. They signed a massive contract to take that podcast of theirs to somewhere. I forget where. But so he's not dependent on football for income, not at all. So it's
No,
all
plus he's
about
got all the commercials, the chunky commercials, and the Buffalo Wild Wings and
yeah, man,
everything
yeah,
else.
yeah, and he's going to roll right. He can take a job right beside his brother as an announcer wherever he wants to when he's retires. I'm
Right,
sure.
and his girlfriend is a billionaire. So
Who's his girl Taylor Swift. I was like, who's his girlfriend? Oh yeah, duh. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, all he has to do is stay with her for a little bit longer, and he'll be able to get alimony too when they break up.
she's a billionaire with a B.
Yeah, that's crazy. She's one of a handful of musicians ever. She's right there with like Paul McCartney, Jay Z, and there's one or two others I always forget.
Yep,
Selena Gomez is another billionaire, which surprised me.
that is surprising.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I just read something about that the other day for some weird reason.
So Kansas City keeps rolling. They win. They're 7-0. They keep
Yeah,
winning, and I keep saying I'm not impressed.
and just to put a pin in our discussion, you were 100% right about Patrick Mahomes being worse this year, and I'm also right about their defense being better. Now,
Yes, absolutely.
how that plays out compared to last year in the end is the really interesting part of this. Couple things are going to happen to help them. They're going to get DeAndre Hopkins is going to get acclimated, which is going to make them better. They are also still have Isaiah Pacheco has been out forever, and he's coming back at some point here in the next like 4 weeks. So they're going to have him and an established Kareem Hunt now to have make their backfield pretty solid. So I think they can work it out and be as good or better than they were last year. That doesn't even necessarily mean they win a playoff game, let alone the Super Bowl. But it's going to be really interesting. We got to revisit this 8, 10 weeks from now and see where Mahomes goes from here.
Yep, yep. Totally agree. I'm ready to move on.
Let's do it. And the Raiders stink.
Oh yeah, we did not mention the Raiders at all. Yeah, the Raiders stink.
Oh,
They're
I did
two.
want to mention a stat line that enforces how much they stink. Alexander Madison outdid Kenneth Walker by rushing 14 times for 15 yards.
Man, that's that Kansas City defense and also Vegas's ineptitude as well.
Yep, combination of both for sure.
13 penalties in that game. We're going to go to the Dallas San Francisco game that had 15 penalties, of course.
Woo!
We both got it right with San Francisco. The only thing that I wanted to happen that hasn't happened is I want Mike McCarthy fired.
Mm.
Um, Dak throws two more picks, but one was nonsensical. I didn't understand. I didn't really think was his fault because he got hit when he threw. Um,
Oh yeah.
but the problem is, here's the problem with the Cowboys' offense. It's their run game. They have no run game whatsoever, and I don't know what was the plan coming in. Like even coming in with Rico Dowdle, what that's not enough, and they have no run game whatsoever. They are dead last in the league in running the ball. And Ezekiel freaking Elliott, who's 1,000 years old now, or runs like he's 1,000 years old, had 10 carries,
Yeah.
led the team in carries.
It's so was Rico Dowdle hurt?
He got sick.
Oh, is that
He
what
was out
happened?
with an
Okay.
illness,
Okay. Okay. Because I couldn't figure out what happened there, and I missed it, and I was it was a busy weekend,
and
so
and,
I didn't
and
have time.
yeah, and any hopes of Dalvin Cook coming in and with a spark had 6 carries for 12 yards. So that's enough of that.
Yeah, man, and I don't think any of us were too hopeful about that. But yeah, no, I mean, you have this offense is CD Lamb and not much else.
Yeah, but I mean, CD Lamb, 13 catches, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, he's as good as it gets. He's in that clump at the top of best receivers in the NFL with Justin Jefferson, AJ
Although,
Brown, whoever
yeah,
else you want to put in it.
yeah, he's right there. Although, did you see the 2 catches, the 2 touchdowns?
Oh yeah,
They were what? San Francisco. What the hell were they doing?
he could have just walked around. Yeah, he could have walked to
There
the end
was
zone.
there was nobody on the screen
I
on
can't
either one.
I can't imagine what defense was possibly called that said just ignore CD Lamb.
No, I think what happened was there was some crossing and stuff, and guys missed their assignments and were supposed to go stay home and not go with the crossing guy, and another guy's supposed to go with the crossing guy, and they both went to the crossing guy and leave of all people CD Lamb wide open.
Oh man, if you're going to make that mistake, make it by double covering CD, and leave the other guy open.
Unbelievable. And then it happened again.
Insane. Yes, absolutely insane. It was almost like when the Eagles got toasted by that little, I don't even know what they call it, but remember that play that Kansas City burnt them twice with where they the oh crap, man.
Yeah. I
What's his name?
remember something, but I don't remember the
Nicole
details.
Hardman. He started out wide. He motioned like he was coming across, and then they hike it, and he just cuts right back out to the outside. And they got him twice with that same play, and it was a similar type defensive confusion thing, and left guys wide open. Now, I guess it's a little easier to understand leaving Nicole Hardman wide open than C.D. Lamb, but that was unbelievable, man. And
Those are the
C.D.
two easiest touchdowns he'll ever get.
It's insane. I mean, the guy is so good, you don't need to leave him open. He'll be
Yeah.
great anyway.
Yeah, right. He catches it whether you're there or not. Um, now, Isaac Garunde,
Yes.
or Garundo,
Yes.
14 carries, 85 yards, and a touch.
Man, this guy looks like I mean, well, you know, you put in anybody into that 49ers backfield and they succeed.
Yeah. Jordan
So,
Mason only got 6 carries.
yeah, but he got hurt.
Right, right, right.
He got knocked out of the game, and he came back. That sixth carry was after he got knocked out of the game. He came back and tried again. He got 4 yards and left. That shoulder, he just hasn't been right since that shoulder injury, and it's
Well,
going to be
McCaffrey's going to be back their next game.
the latest I saw is no setbacks, which is the
Right,
best thing you can possibly hear.
right. And they're on a bye. So they're going to have 2 weeks to get him right, get him ready, ramp him up, and they'll be ready to go. And that'll be the end of, you know,
All these guys.
Jordan, yeah, Jordan Mason and Isaac Garundo. Brock Purdy was very frustrating as a Cowboys fan watching him just every time they had a brand new defensive setup that they went to quite often. It was 9 guys across the line
Yeah, I noticed that. That was
to
wild.
try to stop the run, and they didn't get completely run over, but they still didn't do great against the run. But it was a little better, I guess. But the problem was, it seemed like they applied pressure a lot from one side or the other. And Brock Purdy, whenever he got under pressure, he just went to the other side, and there was nobody ever there. It was wide open. He ran eight times for 56 yards and a touchdown, basically by avoiding the rush from one side, running to the other side where there was nobody. And the next time the rush would come from that other side, and the original side would be wide open.
He had a hell of a game, and he's had a tough run. He had a tough run of games this year. The prior game, by the way, was his worst performance as a professional. He had a 54% completion percentage, 36.7 passer rating. I'm not big on these passer ratings, but that's bad by any measure. And he threw 212 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks against the Chiefs. And so he needed a bounce back game, and he did it, and he looked really good. Like the stat line isn't like overwhelming, but you watch the game, and he played awesome. And like you said, he ran when he needed to every time it worked. Yeah, this was the big game the Niners needed because boy, they were in danger. This was huge for both teams, and this was the Niners got the win, and it was big.
Debo kept coming out because I guess he needed like some oxygen. He was having trouble with his breathing and stuff because of him being sick.
Yes.
But he still had 71 yards. But if you ever play fantasy, get George Kittle in your lineup whenever he plays Dallas. He annihilates Dallas every time they play.
Yeah, man. No, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah,
Six
and Kittle.
catches, 128 yards, and a touchdown. There was the game last year, I believe, when they played. He had three touchdowns. He just destroys them.
Kittle is one of my favorite players that doesn't wear eagle green, and I absolutely love this guy. And I'm going to give you a little Kittle rant for a second here, since you brought it up. This guy deserves a ton of credit for being the player he is. He could have left. There are probably a minimum of 20 teams out there that would have said, George Kittle, you don't have to worry about blocking much anymore. We will make sure you catch 100 balls a season, because he could have his entire career,
Yep.
except when he was injured. And he could have left, multiple times during the course of his career. He's signed extensions, and he just is a football player. He does what's best for the team, and they'll go games without acknowledging that he's a receiver at times, and just make him block. And he does his job, and he does it well. And then he's always ready. He's one of the best receiving tight ends of his generation, and he's a beast. And he's hard to tackle. He's the whole package. To me, if I could take it's with Kelsey still in the league, it's so hard to say. But Kittle, man, I mean, I love them both. It would be hard to pick between the two, honestly, if I had to play one game.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I got to take that back about the rushing yards. Well, Dallas doing better. San Francisco had 223 rushing yards.
Yeah, I was going to circle back to that. Also, part of that was Purdy's 56 yards, but you take that out, and it's still a whopping total.
And
So
56 yards is what Dallas ended up with as a team, which is pathetic.
yeah, and Dallas has had a good run game forever. So I don't understand what they're doing. This is one of the many reasons Mike McCarthy should be fired. One of the many.
Ugh. Yeah, I am ready to move on.
I don't blame you, my friend. Let's do it. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. There's one more thing I got to bring up about this. It's not about the game. Did you hear anything about Trayvon Diggs after the game?
No, why?
Oh, I was hoping you hadn't heard this, because it'll make it even better to get your reaction. So he got into a shouting match with a reporter named Mike Leslie after the game, because Leslie was asking, Trayvon was covering Kittle on that one big bomb that Kittle got. He dove for the end zone, but ended up on like the 5 yard line.
Okay.
And and I don't understand where the reporter's coming from, because I watched the replay. I see zero issue with Trayvon Diggs' effort on that play at all. He got beat by one of the best tight ends in the history of football. There's no shame in that. You know what I mean? But apparently the reporter was asking him about, I forget the exact quote on the reporter, but he was asking about his effort on that play. And Diggs came running across the locker room at him and started screaming about how he doesn't know football. You can't do what I do, which I always
Well,
think is, go
yeah,
ahead.
I didn't know about this, but I remember that play, and I had no problem with his effort.
I'm so with you.
So
The
what is that
reporter
guy talking about?
He was being an idiot. He was being a typical reporter
Well,
idiot trying
then
to
good
stir
on
shit up.
Trayvon for calling him out for being a friggin' idiot.
And I'm 100% with you. And this led to my one of my favorite quotes of the year, which because a couple times Diggs then walked off after telling him he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then Leslie kept being like, "Can't we just talk about it, Trayvon? Can't we just talk about it?" You know, like being like a wuss reporter is. And Trayvon Diggs, after the second or third attempt of Leslie trying to get him to come back over, he said again, "Can't we just talk about this, Trayvon?" Trayvon turns around and goes, "We can talk about these nuts."
That's awesome.
I loved it. I thought that was one of my favorite quotes of the year.
We could talk about these nuts. Fuck out of here. That's awesome.
Oh, I loved it. I couldn't wait to tell you that. All
I
right,
like
now
Trayvon Diggs even more now.
yeah, yeah, I know, man. It actually made me like him a little bit, which is hard for an Eagle fan.
All
All right, we can move
right.
on now. I had to tell you that one.
All right, final game that we both got correct the Monday night last night. I had a baseball game to watch. We'll get into that maybe, but I tried to keep up as best I could. Um, the Giants had a chance at the end here. They forced us, the Steelers to. They forced a fumble in Steelers territory. The game is winding down. There's like 4 minutes to go or something, or 3 minutes to go, and they get the ball down 8 on the Steelers like 30-yard line, and Daniel Jones throws a pick.
Yeah, it's a very Jonesian way to end the game.
Ah, they might have found something on the ground though. Tyrone Tracy again had 20 carries, 145 yards, and a touchdown, and Singletary was on the field and only had 2 carries. Tyrone Tracy has taken this job, and he looks good.
I want to give them credit for doing that because I was wondering if they would or not, and they didn't. Singletary's first game back off the injury, they basically split carries. Um, and again, Tracy was better, and then they gave him the job this week, and he certainly earned it. And I love it's so common to see things like the Travis Etienne thing where they just we don't know how that's going to shake out exactly yet, but I'm assuming he's going to get at least 50-50 when he comes back. Maybe I'm wrong. I
Right.
hope I'm wrong because Bigsby's earned it. But you so often see guys just get their job back because of their draft position
Yep.
and the amount of money they make, that kind of stuff. And I just love the fact that the Giants actually let this kid earn a job when he earned it.
Yep. Um, they went by the right formula offensively in terms of in the air too. Malik Neighbors had 13 targets. That's what you need. He had 7 catches for 71 yards. Darius Slayton throws up with 108 yards on only 4 catches. But you're getting the ball to Malik Neighbors. You found a running back you like and gave him 20 carries. Daniel Jones threw for 264 yards, 24 for 38. All that's fine. The one pick was a killer, but they didn't do anything crazy wrong. But the defense did not play as good, and that was their strength coming in. But Russell Wilson, 20 for 28, 278 and a touch. Najee Harris, 114 yards. Jalen Warren, another 46 yards. They spread the ball around. Pickens, 74. Van Jefferson, 62. Fryermuth got in there a little bit. Just overall, a really nice win for Pittsburgh. The Giants made it interesting at the end. They had a shot there. They were down 8. They would have needed a touchdown and a 2 point. But they had under 5 minutes to go. They had the ball after Pittsburgh fumbled on the 30-yard line, going the other way.
No doubt. No doubt. No, listen, Russell Wilson has taken this job firmly and is going to have to, he's just going to have to go in the tank to lose his job now. He has
Yep.
grabbed it. He has made Pickens a viable fantasy guy. Do you know, by the way, Pickens had 2 touchdowns. One was called back because of a penalty. He ended up with 4 catches for 73 yards. I think it was 74 yards.
Something like
He had
that.
one was called back because of a penalty, and one was overturned by a toe.
Yep.
So uh, he has turned Pickens into what I always thought he was. It's cool to see. Yeah, no, this is fascinating, man, and the fact that the Giants were in it at the end is very surprising. Credit to them. But
They
this,
had 394 yards of offense.
I don't know what the hell happened to the Steelers' defense in this game. That's why, and the fact that they ran all over them.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
listen, I like that guy, I like this young fella, but but he's not. I didn't expect him to run all over the Steelers.
yeah.
Tracy looks good, but I mean, he's not. Derrick Henry yet. I mean, that's wild. So, oh,
And the
and one.
Steelers had 426 yards of offense.
Yes, and that's how they win. But the fact that the Giants put up more than 200 yards on this team is surprising to me. So credit to
Yeah.
them. The one stat I want to bring up, man, this is wild. Good old Wandale Robinson.
Yeah.
This guy is going to set some kind of NFL record this year. He right now has 48 catches for 333 yards,
Wow.
averaging 6.94 yards a catch, which I can't remember. Usually, like a decent running back receiver averages more than that a catch. And I couldn't tell you the last time a receiver averaged that little. And I'll have to look into it at the end of the season when we see where he lands. But it is astonishing to watch. He has his typical stat line, like again from this week: 6 catches, 30 yards. I'm fascinated by Wandale.
All right. Well, that's the last game. I do want to make sure they had 16 penalties in this game. And
Oof.
the Giants added to their sack total with another four. Pittsburgh also had four, but Giants lead the league in sacks. So I just want to mention that. Yeah,
Yeah.
they stink. They're 2-6, and this will be the last year for I know they like Dable, and they don't want to fire him. They do not want, only because of the turnover every 2 years that they were in, that malaise for a little while. They just don't want to do that again. But I don't know. You got to give him, I guess, a chance to get a new quarterback in there and then see what he does. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes too.
I wouldn't either. If he hangs on to his job, and I mean, barring if they end up 4-13 or 5-12, and he keeps his job, I will be astonished. Um, it's one thing not to want the turnover, and I do understand that, but I mean, this is his third or fourth year. He's
I
third
think
year.
it's his fourth year.
Wait, I got it right here. I think you're right. Let me just make sure.
Because the first year, remember, they went to the playoffs.
Yes, and then they were awful 2 years in a row, right? Not just 1 year.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Hired on 2022 would have been his first season. Oh no, it's only his third year.
Okay.
So he went to the playoff. He was 9-7-1, squeaked into the playoffs first year, then 6-11. So if you go 6-11, 5-12, or 6-11, 4-13, I don't think you survive that, man. I would be surprised.
He won
Although,
Coach of the Year that year.
did he really?
The year that they went 9-7 and they beat the Vikings in the playoffs. He won
I,
Coach of the Year.
I forgot about that. That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, and I was so mad when the Eagles hired Sirianni instead of him because I thought he was so impressive what he did with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And they had that good rookie season, and they've been awful ever since. And I've seen nothing from him that would make me ever want to hire him again. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm curious to see where that lands. I think the GM is probably safe for sure because of what you said, but and that wanting to have some sort of stability. But I think, man, if Daboll doesn't win at least 7 games, I can't see him coming back.
If he got hired in 2022, this would be his fourth year.
22, 23,
Oh no,
24.
no, and I'm an
Yeah,
idiot. Never mind.
no, it's all
Okay,
right.
no. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. We went way, way over.
Way over.
We're trying to keep these around an hour. We're at an hour and 38 minutes.
Well,
So
this was a hell of a week, man. We could have talked an hour and 38 just on that Hail Mary game.
yeah. So we'll try to trim it a little bit moving forward. But this was a week in particular where we just had a lot to talk about. So I'm going to wrap it up quick here. Just make sure you guys join us for the Week 9 preview. That'll be a shorter show. and we're going to talk about the muck. And you've got a true or false, like I think one, you said?
I think I came up with another one while we were talking, so I think I'll have two now.
Two true or falses. We'll talk about the muck, and we'll go through week 9, and we'll try to keep that one at a reasonable time as well. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to wrap this one up quick. Al, anything else to add?
No, man, I am good. Can't wait for the preview of week 9.
Okay, make sure you guys join us. Week 9 preview. It'll be out shortly after this one. Until then, I will see you later.